rockin'. Oh,
Welcome back.
Hey. Hi, everybody.
Jon.
I'm Jacob.
And this is the Heimer.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a while?
I don't know. A couple decades.
A few decades.
Yeah.
Even more time has passed since we've been in camper.
Yeah. It feels great. It
does.
It was fun to do all those episodes in the spring and everything, and now we've got some new things to be talking about, and small little things. We have little things to talk about or big things to talk about.
I would say this is a big thing.
Yeah.
We got a big thing.
Yeah. Well, we might need some other ideas on this kind of topic.
We may need some help with it.
Yeah, because I don't think I have the capacity to understand most of this stuff.
Maybe more brains in here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, let's get into it.
Yeah.
All right, so... Oh. Hey, look. Wait. Oh, hi.
Hey. Wow.
It's Noah.
How's it going?
All right. Welcome. Come on in. Have a seat.
I love your camper.
All right. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Another name for it is Lucy, from the Lucille Ball old camper movie.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And the pink hue.
Yeah.
Theme.
Yeah.
Pink theme, right? A little bit of one.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very
1960.
Yeah.
It's a 1960.
It's much more of a 60s theme than anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we like it like that. Yeah. So everybody, this is Noah.
Hello.
And so the topic today, John, what are we talking about?
Yeah, what are we talking about?
What are we talking about?
What are you talking about?
It was your idea, wasn't it?
Yes. Oh, man.
No, I'm
Jacob,
just
I
kidding.
think this is your idea.
So it's basically like reality. We're going to cover this in one podcast. Reality, where is reality and where is what is our imagination? So like some people...
Do things exist?
Do things exist? Which, mostly seems like an obvious slam dunk answer, but there are ways to sort of pick it apart a little bit.
Nuances, you're saying?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I would agree with that, yeah.
Like these flowers exist, right?
Pretty sure.
Well, I think the question
I would say
arises
yes.
that when is a flower not a flower?
Oh. Is it not?
So I think we can agree that that's a flower.
Oh, but like if it goes to seed, is it still a flower or is it just...
Is it a seed?
So maybe...
I'd say it still carries the essence of the flower, and particularly in the seed, right? I mean, the seed holds all of the essence, information, DNA, or whatever the equivalent of a plant is, which is not DNA, but yes. So, right? Like, that I would say it's still a flower, or not in this form, but it still carries the essence of a flower.
Yeah.
For sure, as part of whatever that circle that is the flower and the seed and the germinated seed and then the plant and then back to the flower, right?
Throughout the life cycle. Okay, so that makes sense. But for when it starts to get into the end of its life, we start seeing the petals fall off of it, and we start seeing it wilting. Is it still a flower if it has lost all of its petals?
I thought this is going to be easy.
Like, okay,
I don't know.
Well, is there a clear answer?
Right. No.
Of course not. But I guess my answer would be, is it still a flower? It's a wilting, dying flower. Mm-hmm. I mean, of course, I think with this we're talking about physical form, right? Mm-hmm. Or at least in part we're talking about physical form of the flower, and which is going to change and is always changing with pretty much everything, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so like if you, like this flower in particular, I don't know if this shows up on the camera, but if like this flower, is it the same flower if I take, wow, it's really stuck on there. If I take a petal off, is it the exact, it's not the exact same thing because I removed molecules, right?
Sure.
It's still a flower, but is it the same flower?
No, not exactly. I mean, and again, certainly it's just like we can confine that to like the physical, and like, yeah, it's not the same because there's a petal missing and there's less molecules of flower petal. But then, of course, there's room to expand the discussion as far as, I don't know, other elements of the flower. The flower, as it's alive, now it's cut, it's still alive, really, in a sense, because there it is. It still has turgor pressure in its leaves, and it's in water, and it's so like, okay, it's not. Is it alive? I don't even know. Like, is it alive
That's
still?
A good question,
That's a good question, right?
Yeah, is it alive?
Like,
yeah, is it alive?
I'm not gonna claim to know, or I'm sure you could, like, from a scientific place, argue whether that's alive or not right now. I don't know what that argument is, and don't really care specifically to that detail. But
what about the people? This is getting a little dark, but what about the people that would say humans then are basically as soon as we're born, we're sort of starting to decay, and we have our cell growth, slows down there somewhere after a year or something, and essentially we're dying during our whole lives. Is that a similar phase as these flowers? They're dying, or are they already dead?
I think it works as a metaphor, sure.
Yeah.
And it's just, well, and I think when we just introduced this topic not long ago, and then as we're getting into it, where I'm going is like, and what I think is being asked, or part of the conversation, is like the fact that we're talking about reality and stuff, and it's the fact that so much of reality, our reality, which is what we're talking about, is subjective, of course, right? I mean, and so then that's a whole, yeah. So I think, we're starting on a less subjective thing with something very physical, whether it's this jar or this flower that's still alive, as far as I'm concerned. Then it will move more towards the subjective realities, right? Because we all, of course, I think that's, of course, something we all understand, at least intellectually, but like to understand that in a more, in a fuller way maybe is helpful, I found. Just that, of course, we all have subjective realities, so we're all experiencing things and reality from our own lens, which is all different and colored by our life experience and whatever else, right? And so then, and yet we're really intent on kind of trying to nail down reality, right? And it's like, it's a fool's attempt or a fool's errand to try to nail down reality, because it's like I'm just reminded of the kids show that a DVD I had when my son was just a little guy, and it's like the best pet ever, and it's all these kids saying that their pet's the best pet ever because of course it is to them, right? And that's the whole point, and that like your pet is the best pet ever to you, but for somebody else this is, what I mean? So that little thing is pretty good kid's summary of what I'm talking about, right?
Right, and to an extent, is it the actual pet, that the physical pet that is the best pet, or is it everything that the pet has done for that kid, or the emotions that pet has brought to the kid? So is it any more of an emotional thing than a physical thing in that case?
Yeah, I mean, well, I would say, and we're talking about reality, which reality, of course, is not just what we see and do and touch, and obviously it's how we experience things, how we feel about it, what we think, our reaction, how we process it, how it comes into us, and how we experience that through our subjective lens, which creates our subjective reality. And of course, a lot of that reality we all can agree on and do, right? I mean, certainly when it comes to more simplistic physical things, or like, yeah, the sun came up today, right? Everyone saw that. Like, we all agree on that reality because it's real. It's a physical reality, of course. So how we experience it, what it looks like, is different for all of us.
So question. Let's say you own a hammer and you've fallen in love with this hammer, the way it feels, the way it works for you. It's been indestructible for you, and you've had it for 20 years. You hit that nail on the head that last time, and the handle just splinters. You've named this thing too.
Named it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
You really have an attachment to it, but the handle splits, and you're like, oh, okay, I can make a new handle. I can get a new handle. So you take that handle off. You give it to your son, just because he wanted to play with something. And so you attach the handle to the head, and you continue working, but you still have those same attachments to that hammer, even though it has a different handle to it. Maybe another 20 years goes by. You hit that final nail with that hammer, and for some reason the head just shatters at that point. So you go get another head for a hammer, and you put it on the handle. And then your son again wants to play with the head of the hammer. But he has seen you with this thing, so he decides to put the head with the handle and give it to you. Now you have two hammers that you've fallen in love with. Are they the same thing?
Yeah.
One's all broken, but still there.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe say that it's repaired. You could say that in that scenario.
Yeah, sure.
That's a certain philosophical thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? What is that called? It was I forget
the name
the Greek
me. Yeah.
Greek philosopher. It was the ship, right? The idea of,
Socrates?
I don't think it was Socrates. It was somebody where the ship, they keep replacing all the parts of the ship over the years, and eventually it's all 100% new parts,
Right.
but it has the same name. Everybody knows it's the same ship.
Right.
And then somebody takes all the old parts of the shipyard and rebuilds the original one. Which one is the ship?
The same thing could be said about houses and cars,
Yeah.
which more people could connect to, because like old houses get restored, and they're completely gutted, and all that's left is the shell. So like some of the frame, and maybe not even the siding, just some of the frame, and then that's done to preserve historical relevance or this happens in Bloomington, right? Anyway.
Yeah.
So, is it the same house? Or it's like, well, it has the same form, maybe, and it has the same foundation and some of the same parts, and the same form, and maybe the same feel and essence as it did. And the same with the hammer. It's like, is it the same hammer? No, not at all. It's similar, or maybe almost functionally the same. Right? Surely it is, because that's why you love it so much, and might have all these attachments, or the attachment to it, sentimental attachment. And so your original question was, is it the same hammer?
Is it the same
definitely
hammer?
not. No. Are you asking that of me? Like, do I feel like it's the same hammer, or is it?
Or which one's
physically,
the original? Which one should have the name? Are we talking about naming sort of here? Like which one?
I think a name has a lot of weight behind it, because that is
Yeah.
how you've labeled something in your mind, and so maybe you've named it the same thing.
Right.
And so yes, these two hammers have the same name, and it has carried with you for 40 years now, and so you have some sort of emotional attachment to it.
I don't. Don't put words in my mouth.
One could have.
Oh wait, this was a hypothetical.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
understand. Okay. So, and then so.
I mean, there's no straightforward
well,
answer.
there isn't,
probably
no.
to that. What about this? Like a little bit more of a possibly more scientific take on some of that. What about if an item, like back to our flowers here, just because it's right in front of us. What if an item just changes and like either adds and subtracts molecules again? I'm still sort of stuck on that. Like just the moisture in the air is adding and taking away probably every nanosecond. It's changing.
Sure.
Even with us as we sweat in this camper or whatever. Is it making us different? That's what I'm still stuck on. Is
the fact that the flower is constantly changing making us different,
or some people try to argue then that there's actually more than one of these flowers right here, that it's actually close to or possibly infinite numbers of flowers that are right here that we're looking at, which is a wild thought, but I don't know.
Infinite number of the exact same flower in the exact same place and same form?
No, I think the idea is that it's slightly different. That you can look at this flower, and what you see is one of the flowers. The water content on the petals is one, and the water content that's transitioning from the petals. None of this we can see. The quarks that are moving on and off of it right now, and that sort of thing.
So there's 1,000 different flowers in a given moment?
Right. Same moment.
At the same moment, okay.
I don't know. I mean, that's another thing I've been learning about. That's kind of out there, but...
Yeah. I'm not sure I know. I don't know what to say about that or think about that. Yeah.
Do you guys know?
Yeah.
But there's a difference between living and just an object, too, as well.
Right. But it's somewhat true, is what I'm learning about. People make the argument for the non-living, too, that the way molecules move and the way, again, moisture is kind of the easy example, but like that they're actually shape-shifting all the time, and we're fairly simplistically minded, and we only believe what we see.
I mean, I get, maybe I'm not fully understanding the concept, and probably because it's difficult one to, of course. And maybe that it's talking about the fact that, on the molecular level, molecular level, there's constant change happening and things happening, movement happening, and mostly nothing happening, right? Mostly space, right? We know that. It's like all of it, all of us, everything. When you get down to the molecular level, if you could hang out there, you'd just be like floating in space, pretty much. You might bump into an atom or electron every once in a while, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the physical reality on a molecular microscopic level, which is a whole, jump in there. Like,
do you guys know what? Do you know what merology is? MERE.
I don't know.
That's the study of the relationship between the parts and the whole. And so there's people that have this whole discipline about trying to figure out, like, I'm oversimplifying this mostly because I don't understand it, but like we see 3 flowers, a jar, some water, but is it also, so that's what, 5 things, but could you also count all of it together? Can you count the whole also in the number of items? And then within that, you have people who believe in only the simple items. So they only the exact elements, and the people that only believe in the composites. This is a jar of flowers. This is not a flower. This is a jar of flowers. They don't see the, you know what I mean?
Well, I guess my thought as you're talking about that is that, like, there's a part of me that my reaction to what you're saying is like, that sounds like a little bit of just a mind game we play with our scientific orientations. And metaphysics, what's cool about it, I think, it's like metaphysics has been going into a place now, because that's kind of what we're talking. That falls in that category, right? Metaphysics. What's that? That's this big subject, but it's basic. What I like, one thing I like about it is that it is basically showing through our scientific lens and scientific process, which is how we in the modern world as Westerners tend to like to see and understand things. It's basically supporting and showing what we've known for thousands of years, as far as like the energetics happening on a microscopic level and on a non-tangible level, right? Which is like, I don't believe in this or that, or because I can't see it. And metaphysics is like showing that these other things that are happening that are on more subtle levels, or like it's aligning with that reality, from a scientific framework, which I think is super cool, because like both are true,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if that went off the rails there, but
No. Jon, are there things that you believe in that you've never seen?
That's a great question, Jacob.
To put you on the spot, I mean, this is why this is often ends in sort of a religious question, right? Like, because you don't have to answer that. But I mean, to me, that's where that question is sort of leading, at least my brain.
why don't we ask you that question? Or might I ask you that question?
I don't know. I'm gonna. Yeah, I mean, I think. Yeah, I mean, for sure there is. I don't have a rational reason for why, though. Like, I believe in that the electron exists, but I've never seen one. But I don't believe in many religious ideas that most like kind of regular like mainstream religions have. I don't tend to believe in those, but I don't know why I believe in electron and not necessarily certain gods or.
Well, because they're missing the mark and it doesn't resonate with you. That's why you don't believe in those things, right? It doesn't resonate with you. So
yeah, maybe
and they're ethereal or they're non-tangible things. God and like just this one, not that one. Like
right. You can take two hydrogens and an oxygen and make water out of it, and you have an explanation for electrons.
Yeah, you're back electrons and all that. That's back in the very tangible scientific realm, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and you could see one. I don't know about electrons.
Yeah,
Atoms,
sure.
like under a proper microscope, you could go
That's
see
true.
one, right? I don't know about electrons; they're pretty little and
Yeah, I'm
fast
not
and
sure.
hard to pinpoint at one spot at one time, right?
Speedy little
Remember
devils.
that?
Hardly ever see those guys around
Yeah,
here.
they just don't stick around.
Yeah, are
they're
they
always
even-
on the move.
Yeah.
I think I have a response to your question.
Yeah.
This is a bit strange, and maybe I don't know. This is another whole nother topic, but I believe in time, though I've never seen it.
Time.
Go ahead.
Well, then of course you know that opens the door for a whole nother podcast.
I know,
Like,
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
Time,
that's
like,
what should be our
are
next
you,
one.
when you say that, are you seeing time on a line from like
That's a good
Jesus was
question.
born here and way back there with the dinosaurs?
I mean, time
That's
is
a good
relative.
Of course,
too.
that's how we tend to see
Depending on how
time
fast
as
you're
linear,
going.
right?
Yeah, I know, yeah. Which I think that's a great spot to leave a cliffhanger there.
Oh no! What? Well, at least we solved reality.
We did.
Right?
Great.
We got that
we got
figured
that
out,
figured
so-
out. So
You can thank us
Wow.
later.
yeah. Leave a comment
Yeah,
down below.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah, if you know what reality is, please tell me quick.
Well, they do now because we just told them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
that's
right. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, another great podcast.
Yeah. Great having you
Hey,
here.
thanks
Nora.
guys so much. That was
Thanks for
super
coming
fun.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
what a
Yeah.
treat.
Yeah.
And always, as always, thank you to our executive producer, Schmidt.
Yes, and
Getting
all
all
the
this.
people behind the scenes that
Mhm.
support us and make food and
Yes.
provide a camper and all sorts of
Yeah.
things for
They're
us.
doing
So,
great work for sure.
yeah.
Well, thanks,
All right.
everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right.